Good day and welcome to the Sport Reps Studio. I'm your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraitha, and today I'm joined by a man who needs no introduction, known to the world, and that's Gernot de Klerk, Head of Marketing and Communications at Nedbank. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Jesse. That's such a kind introduction. I tell you, I've got to reintroduce me to my family, so I'm not sure how right you are, but it's a pleasure being here. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, Gernot is here in a mission, and that's a coastal mission that we know, a big one. Crunch time, that's the Desert Dash, the Nedbank Desert Dash, a big one. We know it's big, but of course, you're going to enlighten us more and expand on what the proceedings will be. And of course, the first one is the history of the Dash. Just a little bit of history. Can you just tell our viewers a bit of history of the Dash?
Yeah, I mean, many a big thing starts off on a sort of small scale, doesn't it? And it builds up to the crescendo. And this juggernaut that we know is the Nedbank Desert Dash now. But started about, let's call it, even it up 20 years ago. And it was really from folklore, a discussion around a braai. One daring the other that, you know, there's no chance. You could get on your bicycle in Windhoek, cycle through the desert to Swakopmund in 24 hours. And they had about 40 people latching onto this idea and did it. So, there's a pioneer for the Nedbank Desert Dash. He started it, he's conceived it, and grew it, to the extent that we see now, Aiden de Lange. And we owe him, I think, just as a country, a lot of gratitude for having started this. He's the father of the Nedbank Desert Dash. He's the founder. And Nedbank acquired firstly the rights to host the event about 7 years ago, 2015. I mean, this will be our seventh time of hosting it. And then subsequently we procured all of the rights to the Nedbank Desert Dash. So started really small, 40 odd, grew to 80 the next year, and now it's become a 1,000 rider event.
Amazing, amazing. Of course, I know many sitting out there would like to know preparations leading to this event. I did attend a press conference at the launch, and the excitement that was building was quite incredible and remarkable. One would want to know at the moment, where do we stand and how are the preparations leading to this event? And I think people would like to know, where is the event even taking place?
Yep. So, I mean, the numbers are relatively easy. We'll start in Windhoek at the Grove Mall on Friday, the 10th of December. We'll ride straight through the Namib Desert, the oldest desert in the world, and we'll arrive on the shores in Swakopmund at Plaza Meer the next morning. That's essentially, in a nutshell, what the Nedbank Desert Dash is. So, the answer, or the question that you're asking is, the level of work that goes into preparing has always been a mammoth task. So, we'll allow ourselves after the Nedbank Desert Dash probably about 4 or 5 weeks just to rest and recuperate, and the preparation start virtually immediately, because around June, July of every year we'll open the online entries. And then last year, obviously, we had this global pandemic hit us, so we needed to make many changes at a late stage, but I think we can't call it a dress rehearsal, because we learned valuable lessons in 2020 that we'll carry into 2021. I've got to say, just as a country, we're certainly better off on the health front this year than last year, because as you recall, last year we just didn't have any vaccines available. We didn't know too much about hosting a mega event within the restrictions and the health regulations guiding the sport, but learned valuable lessons that we'll absolutely carry into this year.
Speaking of the pandemic, we have a new mutated variant. Of course, the name, I've been struggling to read the name, and I'm still trying to get it right. It's Omicron, as
It's
one
close.
would say. Yeah, it's close, quite close. How are you guys handling this? And when this news hit, of course, we had some international flights being cancelled, and probably countries banning among their people from traveling to Southern Africa. And we know the Dash comprises of all these people that come, and that's what makes it so exciting. People coming from all walks of life from across the world. So how has this been? How is Nedbank handling this?
So Omicron, I mean, is a curveball. But and I saw some newspaper articles this morning that aren't quite correct in its entirety. I've heard some radio chatter as well that equally is not right. So the facts are this: as of this morning, we have not had a single withdrawal on account of Omicron. Not a single withdrawal. Many queries, one has to say.
Yeah.
So as far as we're concerned, we're not seeing the withdrawals that everybody seems naturally there would be withdrawals. Not a single one. Certainly not from the international contingent. There was one withdrawal out of a South African team, COVID related, and they'll replace the team members, so the team will still be participating.
Okay.
As I say that, I'll tell you to the extent that the allure of the Nedbank Desert Dash just almost obliges people to participate. So one of the international cyclists that called our organizers a day or two ago, saying that his flight would have taken him via Dubai into Southern Africa, and we know that the sort of Arab-speaking countries in that area of the world have said that you're not allowed to travel to South Africa, even or Southern Africa, even on a transit basis. But he's in the process of rescheduling his flight route. So that just shows that yes, to be expected that there could well be withdrawals. Right now, not a single withdrawal at all from any of the international riders, but them definitely watching quite closely the developments and what their governments will be saying about international travel. So we're not expecting withdrawals at this stage. Other than injury enforced, or could be health related, but not on account of the fear, call it, of international travel.
Okay. We know it's a bumpy journey, it gives the athletes or the cyclists a torrid time. We know that it requires heart and dedication, commitment, but it requires safety as well. So in terms of safety, how is this arranged? Are there paramedics on the road, ambulance and all that?
Always, I mean, you can ask to or speak to any of the stakeholders of the Nedbank Desert Dash and ask them what is their major consideration, or the one that receives the highest priority, and that's the safety of our participants. Okay. So maybe in the health front, I should just say that we've changed the regulations, the starting regime, I should actually say, for this year's race. So in the past, we had 1,000 cyclists starting all at once from the Grove Mall. Last year, we've changed that slightly, and this year there'll be an additional change.
Okay.
So they'll start in 30 minutes intervals. The first riders, that's the solo category, about 260 entries, and there, we probably about 10 could not make it to the starting line, we're expecting. But at this stage, 260, and they'll start at 14:30. Half an hour later, only one person of the two-person teams will start. That's about 130 starts, and half an hour after that, about 150 starters in the four-person team. So, if one just looks at the numbers, we're not allowed to have more than 400, 500 people gathering. So the starting regime that we're introducing this year will even mean, even if it's stretched, there won't be more than 500 riders. The backup support drivers need to be at either Quisep or halfway, so they'll not come to the Grove. So we're taking all of those precautionary measures. Folks are requested in the starting chutes to wear their masks. And to be as safe as possible. But the other question is medical evacuation. Yes, we'll definitely make sure that that we're adequately prepared in the event, and we all wish that it never happens, that there is something that occurs on the route. 393 kilometers is a long way, and you're doing that in the dead of night is even worse.
I can just imagine. I wouldn't try it at the moment. We do know the name of Connie Loser. It rings the bell. I think all over competitors know that name. He has mastered the dash. But one wouldn't want just to dwell on Connie himself, but other competitors as well, other teams that are coming as well. And of course, before you tell us the teams that are coming, could you just tell us the previous last year's winners in terms of the female category, and I think that's it, the female and male category, and of course the teams that we expect for this time around?
Yeah, I think let's do probably the solos. I think
the solos. I wouldn't want to, because I wouldn't expect you to remember all that.
Yeah, so in the solo category, I think there'll be tough competition in the men's category again, and let's get to them shortly. Irene, our local hero, and the Genevieve Webbers of this world, we certainly expect them to give as good a showing as they've always done. But the solo men's category this year, I think, will have a heightened anticipation, if one can call it that. So you'll remember 2 years ago, our own Driekus Kutsia, and there's probably in our country not an athlete more hardened than Driekus. We'll make sure that he's meticulously prepared. He's got one of the strongest mind, and his willpower is just immense. So Driekus couldn't cycle last year because he broke his collarbone, I think, a week before the Nedbank Desert Dash. So this year, I'm sure Driekus will want to make amends. And it'll be great for us to have a Namibian champion, and I think. But the competition will be stiff. Connie Loser is already in town. He's preparing for the Nedbank Desert Dash, and as the multiple 6-time consecutive champion, knows his business.
Incredible.
So Connie will be the man to beat, I'm sure. But Driekus, the two Pritson brothers, our Olympian Tristan de Lange. And there's a dark horse, Dusty Day will be here. He's been giving Connie a run for his money for at least 2 years.
And Gernot de Klerk probably as
well. 2 years from now, when I'm 82, I'll try it to be the oldest competitor. But there's a dark horse, Jesse, a Canadian rider, Corey Wallace, who is he's a 3-time world champion. He's the current solo 24-hour marathon mountain bike champion. So, he's come to cycle in the big race, the Epic in South Africa, and has expressed a wish to come and do the Nedbank Desert Dash. So there's a dark horse for this year's race. We have our executive and chief financial officer, Jeche van Graan, and Jeche is a tough fighter, and Jeche will certainly not want to not improve his position of 8th last year. So Nedbank will be rooting for Jeche. He cycles for a very good cause, and a cause that's near and dear to our hearts, in memory of our colleagues who have passed this year.
Before we conclude, anything you would like to add?
Just that, what the Nedbank Desert Dash does do is bring a lot of attention. And there will be lots of spectators, particularly at the finish line. We're asking of them just to make sure that they follow the health regulations. Wear your mask, sanitize, keep social distancing, and just take care of your own health and that of your immediate family next.
Could you tell us why Nedbank? Why did it choose the dash? I mean, there's so many sport codes, and why was it the dash? I've seen the interest in the dash has been growing ever since, and it has been there from Nedbank, and it will remain there as it seems. But could you just tell us why? I'm sure many viewers would like to know why the dash.
Certainly. So we have a proud association with cycling, just in general. So if one looks back at the other big race in the Nedbank stable, the Nedbank Cycle Challenge, you know, that started in 1986.
Yes.
So that was the first competitive cycling race, essentially hosted by a club, Windhoek Pedal Power, who also came into existence and into being that same year.
Yes.
So we can chart our history in cycling back, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago, whatever that number is. And the Desert Dash was the other big cycling event in the country that we were keen to get involved in. And so when the opportunity came by the previous folks who hosted it, decided not to continue, we couldn't let the Nedbank Desert Dash, just the iconic event, slip and not host it. So we jumped in and then acquired the rights to hold it ever since. So that was in 2015. Almost the Desert Dash that year would not have happened were it not for Lemma Events and Nedbank really coming to the fore and saying we can't not host it. Its eminence is just such that, you know, we draw significant numbers of riders from outside of the country to come ride in the Nedbank Desert Dash and stay in our country, experience the warmth of Namibia, and they would go and tell the story of the Dash and Namibia in their communities. So the Dash is really it's a race, but you know it's an event. It's something that celebrates the tourism potential of our country, and would have been a shame if it wasn't hosted.
Okay, ek staan hier so by die registrasie by die Grove. Officially between 3 and 6 o'clock. As you can see, people will arrive at 3, eager beavers. Yeah, many hundred people pitching up, ready to do the dash tomorrow. Tony Loza is here already, 6-time defending champion. So yeah, there's a buzz in the air, it's good, it's sunshine, it's hot, it's ready for dash.
En ons weet môre gaan dit sommer wins van agter wees. Dankie.
We've always had our focus on the future, the authors of our own unorthodox stories.
Because see, we're different. We're reaching for our goals.
Going against the grain and living to tell the tale.
We see our journey differently.
That has brought us to the singular moment of freedom.
Almost 1,000 participants set off westward from Namibia's capital city into the Swakopmund Mountains on an unimaginable feat, 373 kilometers through the oldest desert in the world in under 24 hours. The first stage of the race navigates the Swakopmund's twists and climbs and leads up Kupferberg Pass. Scorching temperatures and harsh winds. This is not a challenge for the faint of heart. And not everyone makes the cut. Uncontested as the longest single-stage mountain bike event in the world, the Nedbank Desert Dash is one of Namibia's premier sporting events. Drawing cyclists from across the globe, it is not only an epic challenge to be conquered, but plays an integral role for Namibia as a nation and for Namibia's cycling community, giving our cyclists the chance to compete against international athletes. Alongside the elite cyclists, there are other participants who enter as solo riders, two-man and four-man teams. Departing from Windhoek on the 11th of December, almost 1,000 participants set off westward from Namibia's capital city into the Swakopmund Mountains on an unimaginable feat, 373 kilometers through the oldest desert in the world in under 24 hours. The first stage of the race navigates the Swakopmund's twists and climbs and leads up Kupferberg Pass. Scorching temperatures and harsh winds. This is not a challenge for the faint of heart. And not everyone makes the cut. From there, the route follows the D1982 gravel road over hilly terrain and eventually down Oos Pass, ending in the Kwisep River at checkpoint 2.
Bene is alright. Liggaam is okay. Ek voel goed. Maar ja, die bumps is die probleem op die oomblik.
The third stage of the race is considered by far the most difficult. With the route crisscrossing valleys and rivers, this section is characterized by steep climbs and descents over and over again.
Old Nutella, red is Nutella, German food. Guys, let's get some space over here. This is after all the 2020 there.
The baffling question of why do I do it every year, that's probably what I love about it. I don't know what I'm doing here, but every year I come back.
Welcome to the Swakopmund Namibia halfway point at the 2020 Nedbank Desert Dash.
Not too bad, but only halfway.
The weather is totally unpredictable, and with the wind today again, you saw these wind gusts gashing into the riders' faces. So it'll be a tough one again, but it's always different. The dash is never ever the same.
How far now?
From there, cyclists cross arid, rocky and often corrugated terrains, entering Namib National Park and ending stage 4 at Bloedkoppie. They traverse the desertscapes deep into the night. Darkness and Namibia's spectacular evening sky, their only friend. Stage 5 leaves the flat gravel plains behind as it descends into the visually stunning moon landscape. As the sun rises behind them, the landscape all around is set alight by the grandeur of early morning rays. The fresh air that dawn brings is savored, as from here and entering the final stage, wind, dust, and harsh desert heat become the norm. Pollard Life were the winners in the men's 4-person category. With a time of 14 hours, 45 minutes and 21 seconds, Connie Lusa snagged his 6th consecutive solo victory. The Pritson brothers won the men's 2-person category, and Michelle Foster and Tristan De Lange took top honors in the mixed 2-person slot. Namibia's own Martin Fryer came in as the 2nd solo just 20 minutes after Connie Lusa. And while the elites finish in the early morning hours, many dashers still have some ways to go, traversing desert terrains toward the coast. For many, the Nedbank Desert Dash is not a race, it's an adventure, an opportunity to test their own limits and strive for that sense of achievement. Many also use it as an opportunity to create awareness and raise funds for causes close to their hearts, dashing for a difference. When they reach the coastal town of Swakopmund, their elation, the beautiful sunny summer weather, and the excitement of the crowd join in an ultimate euphoric crescendo. We all have a reason why we push ourselves to the extremes, why we test limits and work to defy the odds. The Nedbank Desert Dash is one of those ultimate challenges that riders have been training for and taking on for years. Are they working for a cause and not just for applause? Is it for the physical or mental challenge? Is it for conservation or for someone in need? Whatever the reason, this epic challenge will continue to inspire those who are brave enough to push the limits, rediscover themselves and Namibia's natural beauty. An event that balances cycling, nature, and the human spirit. Namibia, and one of the world's ultimate mountain bike races, the Nedbank Desert Dash.
We've always had our focus on the future, the authors of our own unorthodox stories.
Because see, we're different. We're reaching for our goals.
Going against the grain and living to tell the tale.
We see our journey differently.
That has brought us to the singular moment of freedom.
Uncontested as the longest single-stage mountain bike event in the world, the Nedbank Desert Dash is one of Namibia's premier sporting events. Drawing cyclists from across the globe, it is not only an epic challenge to be conquered, but plays an integral role for Namibia as a nation and for Namibia's cycling community, giving our cyclists the chance to compete against international athletes. Alongside the elite cyclists, there are other participants who enter as solo riders, two-man and four-man teams. Departing from Windhoek on the 11th of December, almost 1,000 participants set off westward from Namibia's capital city into the Swakopmund Mountains on an unimaginable feat, 373 kilometers through the oldest desert in the world in under 24 hours. first stage of the race navigates the Hochland's twists and climbs and leads up Kupferberg Pass. Scorching temperatures and harsh winds. This is not a challenge for the faint of heart. And not everyone makes the cut. From there, the route follows the D1982 gravel road over hilly terrain and eventually down Oos Pass, ending in the Quisep River at checkpoint 2.
Is alright. Liggaam is okay. Ek voel goed. Maar ja, die bumps is die probleem op die oomblik.
The third stage of the race is considered by far the most difficult. With the route crisscrossing valleys and rivers, this section is characterized by steep climbs and descents over and over again.
Rot mit Nutella, red with Nutella, German food. Guys, let's get some space over here. This is after all the 2020 Desert Dash.
The baffling question of why do I do it every year, that's probably what I love about it. I don't know what I'm doing here, but every year I come back.
Welcome to the Swakopmund Namibia halfway point at the 2020 Nedbank Desert Dash.
Not too bad, but only halfway.
The weather is totally unpredictable, and with the wind today again, you saw these wind gusts gashing into the riders' faces. So it'll be a tough one again, but it's always different. The dash is never ever the same.
How far now?
From there, cyclists cross arid, rocky and often corrugated terrains, entering Namibnaukluft National Park and ending stage 4 at Bloedkoppie. They traverse the desertscapes deep into the night. Darkness and Namibia's spectacular evening sky, their only friend.
Yes, we are currently here at the Nedbank Desert Dash as we've sent off the first two batches of the riders heading all the way from Windhoek to Swakopmund. That's a total distance of 393 kilometers, and the Nedbank Desert Dash is not just an endurance mountain bike racing competition. It's a beast that lures you on its back, challenges you and pushes you to the limits, and only allows a few to make it. I'm sure all of the riders taking part in the Nedbank Desert Dash know exactly what the challenge is and up for the challenge, hoping to make it all the way from the lovely city of Windhoek all the way to Swakopmund in a total distance of 393 kilometers, and they're expected to complete this in 24 hours. I'm sure the riders know exactly what challenges they have taken up and what they will be doing. We wish them all the best here as we bring you the action all the way live from Windhoek all the way to Swakopmund. The Rongo team will be making sure to bring you all the coverage from the Swakopmund side, so make sure you stay tuned to all the NMH platforms as we bring you all the action of the 2021 Nedbank Desert Dash competition. This is the 16th edition of the competition, and also just a fact that today we sent off 251 solo riders, all of them competing to cover the total distance of 393 kilometers in 24 hours. We now move over as we head into competition and look to bring you all the action all the way from Windhoek to Swakopmund. Stay tuned to all of NMH's platforms. Thank you so much.